Y'all, if you thought Season 7 left us with chaos, buckle up, because the first few minutes of Season 8 are about to come in swinging. I'm talking no time to breathe, no previously on slow buildup, just straight into the madness we've been waiting for. That finale didn't just end with a bang, it ended with 100 unanswered questions, and now the trailer for Episode 1 is making it clear. We're diving headfirst into danger, heartbreak, and probably some betrayals that'll have us yelling at the screen. This is the Chi at its messiest, its rawest, and maybe even its most dangerous yet. And if you've seen the teaser, you know, nobody's safe this time. Let's start right where that finale left us, because there's no way they're skipping over the fallout from Alicia's death. The trailer shows quick flashes of police lights, a station hallway, and faces we know all too well. You don't need a detective badge to figure out that Vic and Shad are in deep. Like, this is lawyer up, deep. And here's the thing. Yeah, we can argue all day about whether Shad's decision to move the body was stupid or desperate, but the fact is, it happened. The system doesn't care if you panicked, they care about evidence. And right now, all the evidence points straight at them. Even if their alibis check out, the optics are terrible. Moving a body, that just screams we're hiding something. And if the real killer stays hidden long enough, well, you know how Chicago works. Sometimes the easiest suspects get the blame, but here's where it gets interesting. Because Vic's not the kind of man to go down quietly. That look in his eyes in the trailer, that's not guilt, that's fire. He knows somebody set this up, and he's not about to let it slide. I wouldn't be shocked if Episode 1 has him already plotting his next move, even from inside an interrogation room. Shad, though, that's a different story. His heart's in the right place, but his head, not so much. The trailer shows him looking shaken, almost like he's ready to take the fall if it means protecting Vic. That's loyalty, but it's also dangerous. And then we've got Tiff. This woman is carrying more weight than anybody should, and I swear, every time we think she's at her limit, life throws another punch. She's fresh out of the hospital, trying to care for her baby, and now the man she trusts the most is sitting in a holding cell. And yet, she's not backing down. If you caught that moment in the trailer, her standing outside with her jaw set, you know she's ready to fight for Vic. The question is, how far is she willing to go? Because if she starts digging into Alicia's murder on her own, she's stepping into some dangerous territory. And let's be real, when women in the Chi start asking the wrong people the right questions, things get ugly fast. Kiesha, meanwhile, is in her own storm. She's got her hands full with her baby and the chaos in her circle, but she's also one of the only people Tiff can truly lean on right now. I can see the two of them forming this united front, the kind where you look at them and think, yeah, they're not losing without a fight. The trailer hints at a scene where they're talking low, almost like they're making a plan. And if Tiff decides she's choosing Victor over Nook, and let's be honest, after everything, that choice makes itself, that alliance gets even stronger. Speaking of Nook, oh Nook, that man's walking into Season 8 with a storm cloud over his head. Alicia didn't trust him, and now she's gone. Do the math. Tiff's not stupid, and she's definitely not about to swallow whatever excuse Nook tries to serve. If anything, her suspicion is only going to grow. And here's where it gets dangerous. Because the trailer shows Nook in that shadowy, tense lighting they love to use right before a big confrontation. My guess? He's not just worried about Tiff. He's worried about what Bari knows. And Bari, my heart goes out to him. Losing Alicia is a wound that's not going to heal quick. But here's the thing. This might be the moment that finally pushes him out of the streets for good. You saw that moment in the finale when he asked Nook straight up if he killed Alicia? That wasn't small talk. That was a line in the sand. And even though Nook denied it, Bari didn't look convinced. Episode 1 might just be where Bari makes the call to walk away, and trust me, that's not gonna go over well. Nook doesn't let go of people that easy. That tension alone is enough to light a fuse for the rest of the season. But we can't forget about Reggie. He's been moving in the shadows, and while everyone's focused on Alicia's death, he's quietly building power. But here's the problem. He's also sitting on a ticking time bomb called evidence. If Alicia had cameras anywhere near that safe he cracked, and if even one person sees him or Candace flaunting something from that stash, game over. The trailer even drops a quick shot of Candace in that bold red fur coat. Yeah, you remember the one. Subtlety is not her strong suit. That could be the crack in his armor that blows his whole game wide open. And while all this is happening, the streets are buzzing. Episode 1 isn't just about personal grief, it's about survival. Loyalties are about to be tested, alliances will shift, and the real question hanging over all of it is simple. Who's next? Because in The Chi, one death usually leads to another, and the way this trailer is cut, it's giving me the feeling that Alicia's murder is just the start. If there's one thing we all know about The Chi, it's that when secrets start to crack, they don't just leak, they explode. And episode 1 is setting us up for one of those explosions. The streets are restless, people are whispering, and everyone's trying to figure out who really killed Alicia. But here's the thing. Most of those whispers aren't about the truth. They're about blame. And blame in Chicago has a way of sticking to whoever looks the weakest, even if they had nothing to do with it. That's why Vic and Shaw's situation is so dangerous. Word spreads fast, and once people believe you're guilty, proving your innocence feels like climbing a brick wall in the rain. And the police? They're not in the business of giving second chances, they're in the business of closing cases. So while Vic's mind might be on justice, the system's mind might already be on making him and Shaw the fall guys. But there's another layer here that the trailer hints at. This isn't just about street politics anymore. This is about personal vendettas. Alicia wasn't just another player in the game. She was connected, respected, and feared in equal measure. Her death isn't something you can bury quietly. People are going to want payback. The question is, who gets to deliver it? And that's where I think we're about to see some lines being crossed. Because when grief turns into rage, folks stop playing by the rules. Someone out there knows exactly what happened to Alicia, and they're staying quiet for a reason. Whether it's fear, loyalty, or their own self-interest, that silence is the thing keeping Vic, Shawd, and maybe even Bari in danger. Tiff, though, she's the wild card. She's the one person who can move between all these different circles without raising alarms. She's not strapped up, she's not running crews, but she's got eyes everywhere. And if episode 1 really leans into her taking matters into her own hands, we could see her step into a role she's never played before. Not the victim, not the bystander, but the one connecting dots the cops won't. She's got Kiesha in her corner, and Keisha's not afraid to push people's buttons when she needs answers. Those two together, that's a dangerous mix. Dangerous for the person who actually pulled the trigger, I mean. And if they start digging, they're not stopping until they find something. Meanwhile, Nook's got his own problems. He might think he's controlling the narrative, but his name is already floating around in conversations he can't hear. Bari's doubt is like a spark, and all it takes is one more push before that spark becomes a fire. And if Bari decides to speak his truth, if he tells the wrong person what he suspects, Nook's whole operation could be under a microscope. That's the thing about the Chi. Nobody's untouchable. We've seen men fall from power over a single mistake, and we've seen alliances crumble over nothing more than a bad look. Nook knows this, which is why I think he's going to try and control Bari early. Maybe it's intimidation, maybe it's bribery, but whatever it is, he's not going to just let Bari walk away clean. And that tension, that's going to be one of the season's slow burns. But then there's Reggie, who's not just surviving, he's thriving. While everyone else is distracted, he's moving pieces on the board, bringing in new people, testing out what he can get away with. But here's where he might trip. Ambition. In the Chi, ambition is the kind of thing that'll get you killed if you don't play it smart. And Reggie, he's playing big and loud. The robbery of Alicia's stash wasn't just about money, it was about power. Those designer bags, that cash, those valuables, they're status symbols. And in a city where status is everything, flaunting those trophies is a surefire way to draw attention. Candace doesn't seem to understand that yet, and the more she steps out in those high-end pieces, the more people are going to start asking questions. Reggie's going to have to keep her in check, and honestly, I don't know if he's got the patience for that. One thing the trailer makes clear is that episode 1 isn't going to waste time on filler. We're jumping between the police station, the streets, and private moments that show just how broken everyone is after that finale. Alicia's funeral is going to be a centerpiece. Not just a moment of mourning, but a power play. Funerals in the Chi aren't just about saying goodbye. They're about showing up, being seen, and making statements without saying a word. Who sits where, who speaks, who doesn't show up at all. Those little details are where the real tension lives. And trust me, the people watching from the sidelines will notice every single move. And while we're all going to be watching the big players, don't forget about the smaller threads. Those background characters who hear things, see things, and pass them along without even realizing how dangerous that information is. Because sometimes in the Chi, the smallest piece of gossip is what brings down the biggest name. And with Alicia gone, the streets are going to be hungrier for information than ever. Episode 1 feels like it's going to set off multiple storylines all at once, and it's only a matter of time before those threads start tangling into something no one can control. Now here's where things get real messy, because if there's one thing the Chi loves to do, it's pull the rug out from under us just when we think we figured it all out. Episode 1 isn't just about reacting to Alicia's death, it's about setting the trap for the real game that's coming. And from the way the trailer cuts between quick, chaotic shots, you can already feel that something's brewing in the shadows. Someone out there has the answers, but they're not talking yet, which tells me they're not just a witness, they're a player. And that means they've got something to gain by staying quiet. Maybe it's money, maybe it's power, or maybe it's about watching everyone else tear each other apart while they sit back and wait for the perfect time to step in. And if we're talking about stepping in, let's circle back to Bari. This man has been carrying the weight of his decisions for a long time, but losing Alicia, that's different. That's personal. The finale already showed us the crack in his loyalty to Nook, but episode 1 might be the moment that crack turns into a split. Bari's not just thinking about himself anymore, he's thinking about Nay, about what kind of life they could have if they walked away from all of this. But here's the problem. Dreaming about getting out and actually getting out are two different things. And in the Chi, leaving the game is never as simple as saying, I'm done. If Bari tries to cut ties, Nook's going to see it as a betrayal. And betrayal in their world, that can turn deadly quick. Meanwhile, Tiff's storyline is about to shift in a big way. Up until now, she's been on the receiving end of trouble. Things happen to her and she reacts. But with Vic in trouble, I think episode 1 will show her stepping into a proactive role. And that's going to change everything. Tiff knows how to blend in, how to have conversations without raising alarms, and that makes her dangerous in the best way. She can get close to people without them realizing they're being sized up. And if she starts connecting the dots between Alicia's death and the movements of certain people, like Nook, like Reggie, that's going to put her on a collision course with some of the most dangerous men in Chicago. But here's the twist. She won't be doing it alone. Kiesha's the type to ride with you into the fire, and once she's in, she's in. That means we might see two strong women quietly gathering intel, watching, waiting, and planning their next move. And then there's Reggie's rise. I know I said before that his ambition might be his downfall, but here's the thing. Sometimes reckless ambition works, at least for a while. Episode 1 could give us a taste of just how bold he's willing to get now that Alicia's out of the picture. He's moving in on territory that was once hers, trying to fill the power vacuum before anyone else does. But the bigger he gets, the bigger his target becomes. And that's where the Candace problem comes back in. She's flashy, she likes attention, and she doesn't seem to understand that in their world, attention is a death sentence. That red fur coat isn't just a fashion choice, it's a walking piece of evidence. And if the wrong eyes see it, the walls will start closing in on Reggie before he even realizes it's happening. Now, one thing I think a lot of people are sleeping on is the emotional fallout we're going to see at the funerals. Alicia's funeral isn't just going to be about grief, it's going to be about power. Who shows up, who doesn't, and what's said from the pulpit are all going to send messages, whether intentional or not. And then there's Jada's funeral, which is a different kind of heartbreak. That's the kind of loss that pulls the whole community together, at least for a moment. But even in that moment, you know the tension's going to be thick. People will be watching each other, reading body language, looking for cracks in the armor. It's the kind of setting where a single glance across the room can spark a rumor that changes everything. And let's not forget, the streets don't pause for grief. While everyone's dressed in black and saying their goodbyes, moves are still being made. Reggie's crew is still out there, Nook's people are still handling business, and the cops are still working angles to close Alicia's case. The trailer flashes just enough images to remind us that while funerals might bring closure for some, for others, they're just an opportunity to strike while emotions are high. And that's the dangerous beauty of the Chi. The personal and the political, the emotional and the strategic, they all bleed into each other until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Episode 1 feels like it's going to be one of those hours where every scene has a double meaning. You'll watch it once for the drama, and then you'll realize later that something small, a line, a look, a handoff, was setting up something way bigger down the line. That's the kind of storytelling this show thrives on. And after that season 7 finale, they know we're watching every frame for clues. The real question is, are we ready for what those clues lead to? Because my gut says the answers are going to hurt. And here's the thing about the Chi. When the first domino tips, you never really know where it's going to stop. Episode 1 isn't just about tying up the loose ends from season 7, it's about laying the foundation for a season where survival might mean doing things you swore you'd never do. That trailer makes it clear. We're in for shifting alliances, quiet betrayals, and those little moments where a single choice changes the entire board. You can already see it in Vic's eyes. He's not going to just sit in a cell and wait for the system to decide his fate. And if that means bending the rules, calling in favors, or making deals with people he doesn't trust, he'll do it. Because in his mind, staying free isn't just about him, it's about protecting the people who still believe in him, like Tiff. But survival comes at a cost. Shad's loyalty might end up being his undoing. The way he's looking in those quick cuts from the trailer tells me he's carrying the weight of what happened, maybe even more than Vic. And the danger there is simple. Loyalty can make you strong, but it can also make you reckless. If Shad takes the fall to save Vic, it might solve one problem and open a dozen more. Because whoever really killed Alicia, they'll still be out there, and if they've already proven they can take out someone as connected as her, no one else is untouchable. Meanwhile, the women in this story are quietly becoming the most dangerous players in the game. Tiff and Kiesha might not be packing heat or running crews, but they've got something just as powerful. They know how to move without being seen. They know how to listen. And they know who to talk to without setting off alarms. That's why I think Season 8 might just be the season where the real power shifts happen in the spaces people underestimate. The trailer doesn't give us all the details, but the way it frames Tiff, head high, focused, makes me think she's going to be the one holding critical information before anyone else. And in the Chi, information is worth more than money. Nook, on the other hand, feels like a ticking time bomb. The man's walking around with suspicion hanging over him like a storm cloud, and the more people start connecting the dots between his movements and Alicia's death, the more dangerous he becomes. Not because he's innocent, but because when men like Nook feel cornered, they lash out. And in a city where retaliation is a way of life, Episode 1 could very well be the spark that pushes him to make a move he can't take back. Whether that's against Bari, against Tiff, or against someone else entirely, it's going to be a problem that doesn't just disappear. And then there's Reggie, who's playing the long game, but might be forgetting one thing. The higher you climb, the harder the fall. Right now, he's got momentum, he's got resources, and he's got the ambition to make himself a major power in the streets. But ambition like his needs discipline, and the Candace factor is his weak point. If that red fur coat or any other stolen piece shows up in the wrong place, the people gunning for him won't just be rivals. They'll be the law. And we all know the law in the Chi isn't interested in justice. It's interested in closing cases fast. So who survives and who falls in Season 8? Episode 1 is going to give us the first hints. My gut says some of the characters we've been rooting for are going to make choices that push them closer to the edge, while others, maybe the ones we least expect, find ways to climb out of the mess. But make no mistake, this is going to be one of those seasons where nobody's safe. Alicia's death isn't just a tragedy, it's a trigger. And the chain reaction it sets off could be the thing that takes this story into the darkest place it's ever been. So as we head into Season 8, the question isn't just who did it anymore, it's who's still standing when the dust clears? Because in the Chi, surviving the streets isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the smartest, the quickest, and sometimes the coldest. And from the looks of that trailer, the game is about to change for everyone.